$200 million. I want you to just let that number sink in for a second. That is the exact annual revenue that one single e-commerce brand generated in just its third year of existence. Now look, hearing a number like that, especially today, it's completely natural to ask yourself, are results like this even still possible? Or has the golden age of e-commerce kind of just come and gone?
Well, to figure out how you actually build this, we have to look directly at the source material. As your EcomChief coach, today we're exploring the playbook of Davie Fogarty. He's an absolute Australian e-commerce phenom. We're talking over $850 million generated in online sales, and he even became the youngest judge ever on Shark Tank Australia. We are going to extract his exact masterclass playbook and break it down piece by piece.
Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer. What we've put together for our coaching curriculum today is a step-by-step distillation of Fogarty's multi-million-dollar strategies. But just as importantly, we're going to look at his incredibly honest reflections on founder burnout. Because this isn't just about the highlight reel, right? It's about the gritty reality of what it actually takes to build an empire.
Here is our roadmap for today's session. 1. From failure to 200 million. 2. Spotting and riding trends. 3. The market arbitrage strategy. 4. Essential e-commerce tools. 5. The hidden cost of success. And finally, 6. Pursue success before passion.
Starting off with Section 1, From Failure to 200 Million.
You know, Fogarty's journey absolutely didn't start in some fancy boardroom. It started with a relentless childhood obsession with making money. All the way back in grade 7, he would literally jump the school fence at lunch, bake cookies in his house next door, and then sell them back to his teachers. That foundational drive pushed him to try practically everything. But, as we discover in the sources, his early official attempts were, frankly, ridiculous failures. I mean, he tried selling Y-back gym singlets with cheesy quotes on them and got exactly 0 sales. But hey, he learned that you actually need a mechanism to sell. He tried selling weight loss seasoning on Instagram but shipped them in glass vials that broke everywhere, which taught him about product feasibility. He even tried selling Vietnamese rolls but realized he was only making a 50-cent margin, teaching him a harsh lesson about unit economics. Every single failure bought him a crucial new skill.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when those hard-learned lessons finally compound. All of those fragmented skills, knowing how to sell, understanding feasibility, mastering unit economics, they all culminated in his launch of Calming Blankets, which hit $10 million in its very first year. And then just months later, he launched the Oodie, a wearable blanket, which rocketed to an insane $200 million annual run rate by year 3. His overnight success was, in reality, years in the making.
Moving right along to Section 2, Spotting and Riding Trends.
So the core skill Fogarty attributes to this massive breakout growth wasn't about inventing a brand new product category out of thin air. It was actually about spotting and riding product trend waves right before they tipped into the mainstream. And this isn't some mystical talent. The sources show that anyone can do this, simply by being hyper-observant of what people are obsessing over online. You don't have to be at fancy industry conferences. You just have to watch social media and ask yourself, why are people obsessed with this specific thing right now? He points to the current evolution of AI as a prime example of a massive rising tide. If you're a beginner wanting to make your first 10K a month today, the playbook suggests you don't even need to build an AI tool. Just take existing AI tech and sell it as a service to traditional businesses, like dental clinics, to create a huge information arbitrage.
Section 3. The market arbitrage strategy.
All right, this brings us to the specific geographic strategy Fogarty used, and it's quite counterintuitive. In fact, this is the strict 3-step framework I want you to focus your entire strategy around for our coaching today. Most e-commerce brands follow a standard playbook, launch in the massive US market, and then slowly expand outward. Fogarty did the exact opposite. Here is how you execute this market arbitrage. Step 1. Find a product that is already going viral and proving itself in the US market. Step 2. Don't even try to compete in the US. Instead, launch it immediately in an underserved market like Australia or the UK. Why? Well, consumers there are seeing the social media trends, they are problem aware and want the product, but they aren't brand aware yet because it's simply not available locally. You step in, scoop up those incredibly easy, cheap conversions. Then, step 3. Use all that cash flow to actually build a lasting brand. Now, I need to break the fourth wall here and speak directly to you. The biggest warning in the source material regarding this strategy is acting just like a dropshipper. Dropshippers focus strictly on aggressive customer acquisition, but over time, competitors inevitably crowd the market. Instead, your playbook dictates evolving into a brand builder.
Fogarty used the massive cash flow from the UDI to build a brand around a specific function, comfort, and then added evergreen secondary products like sleep teas and dressing gowns. When the initial trend inevitably declines, it's those secondary products that keep your business alive and thriving.
On to Section 4, Essential E-commerce Tools.
If you want to execute this exact playbook today, what technology should you actually be using? I'd encourage you to pause and save this slide. To find winning product concepts before they saturate your market, the sources highly recommend paid tools like TrendRocket, Exploding Topics, or Mania, which literally scrapes ad libraries to see what's scaling. But hey, you don't even need a budget to start. You can go completely free by using the Facebook ads library. You just observe what's scaling aggressively, write down their positioning, and reverse engineer the whole shebang for your own market.
So the crucial point is how you test these products once you find them. Fogarty believes heavily in the old phrase, riches in niches. Look, Facebook advertising is a highly competitive bidding system. If you sell the exact same product to the exact same audience as a competitor, your ad costs are going to skyrocket. Instead, find a unique avatar. For example, he mentions taking a generic TENS device, which delivers electric shocks and is typically marketed for period pain, and marketing it uniquely to ultramarathon runners for muscle recovery. You bypass the competition entirely by serving a completely untouched niche. It's a total game changer.
Let's move to Section 5, the hidden cost of success.
Now we need to take a deliberate step back for a minute. We've talked about the incredible highs, but what happens when you fly a little too close to the sun? After his initial massive success, Fogarty fell into a serious trap. Thinking he had a magic formula, he launched 10 to 12 e-commerce businesses simultaneously. On the outside, the public saw the glamour, right? A 26-year-old with a $200 million business, taking private flights, sitting as a Shark Tank judge. But the internal reality was radically different. To sustain 14-hour days across a dozen failing companies, he was fueling himself with ADHD stimulants like modafinil, vaping heavily, and drinking up to 10 coffees a day. He genuinely believed he was mentally immune to burnout, right up until his body entirely broke down, resulting in crippling, relentless panic attacks. It got so bad he'd have panic attacks just stepping into an elevator with his own team.
Healing didn't come from pushing harder. It came from surrender. Fogarty actually had to step down as CEO. Under doctor's orders, he had to temporarily stop working completely, just to quiet his shattered nervous system. But more deeply than that, he had to unlearn his original drivers. He had to accept that the intense, chip-on-the-shoulder need to prove his success to everyone around him was literally destroying him. He had to let go of the identity of the untouchable startup machine.
Finally, Section 6, pursue success before passion.
This brings us to perhaps the most counterintuitive advice in the entire curriculum for anyone just starting out. Fogarty argues this: billionaires say follow your passion because they are already successful. What you need to do is become passionate about success. Man, that hits hard, doesn't it? Following your passion up front is terrible advice if it makes you broke and unsuccessful, because then you can't afford to keep doing it anyway. Instead, your initial passion needs to simply be closing the deal, generating cash flow, winning. Put the hard work in to generate wealth first so that later you can actually afford the absolute luxury of pursuing your true passions, whether that's buying a farm and raising animals or just taking care of your family.
And that leaves us right here. You now have the blueprint. We've explored the $850 million playbook, that 3-step geographical arbitrage, the exact testing frameworks, and the very real human cost of doing it wrong. The tools and the strategies are sitting right there in front of you. So, the only question left for you is, what will you become passionate about succeeding at today? Take this framework, apply it, and start building. You've got this.